Welcome to Artful Learning. I'm Carol Ambergy, and I was an elementary teacher for many years. In the last few years of my career, I was asked to teach elementary art. I always thought that art is the perfect vehicle to combine academic learning, to support academic learning with hands-on and visual projects. So I spent several years creating these projects that I would like to share with you, and most importantly, I'd like to share them with your children. So the first project is simply called Art Adventure, and it involves a map, binoculars, and a place to go. Now, every kid loves an adventure. Every kid likes a place to go, and everybody is fascinated by binoculars. So here we go. It'll be fun. I usually do this lesson with second graders and possibly third graders because it involves a lot of map skills. So we're going to keep that in mind. So the first thing I would do is introduce them to binoculars. Most children are familiar with real binoculars, and most do not have a child-sized version of these of their own. So what we're going to do for the art project is make a pair. Ours are going to look just like this. When I did this lesson with second graders, the first thing we would do is make our own binoculars. So as you can guess, it's the ever faithful toilet paper tubes. So we take 2 toilet paper tubes and paper clip them together. That's just to hold them in place. Then I'm going to use a hot glue gun. Now parents, you probably would do this part yourselves. You can also use liquid glue. Just be mindful, if you use liquid glue, it is going to take some time to dry. Okay, so they are basically together. The next step is simply to paint. As you can tell on this sample, I just had a little fun with them and I made them like two-tone, and then I took a little silver marker or a little silver paint and drew a line there, sort of just to define the different areas. After this paint is dry, we're going to add a section of this is just regular curling ribbon, very inexpensive. If you had better ribbon, you could use that. If you had elastic, you could use that. You just want it long enough. I think this is about 24 inches, long enough so it fits over your child's head so they can actually wear these little binoculars. So we'll let this dry, paint it, and then I'll be back. Piece of ribbon, which I usually secure with tape on the outer edges. Tape it to the inside so it does look more real. So I just tape that to the inside on both sides. And will it last forever? No. Will it last long enough to have fun? Yes. So just like that. And there is your child-sized binoculars. Okay, we're going to put that aside because we're going to get to the fun part and the learning part, and that is making our antique treasure map. So this was wonderful paper. This was all pre-crinkled paper that was wrapping paper from a box that was delivered to our house. Did I introduce my assistant here? My assistant editor, this is Mozzie. Mozzie was more interested a few minutes ago. But anyhow, this might pique his interest. So for our antique map, I always start this lesson because this is the part that really gets us into some real learning skills, some real map skills as well. So I always have the kids brainstorm and tell me what should be on this map. Well, somebody always says it needs to have a compass rose. Now, I'm not surprised they would say compass rose because that is definitely a third grade skill that children need to learn. They need to learn what a compass rose is and what important part it plays on a map. So, most compass roses are in the corners. Not all of them, but most. So, we're going to start with a fairly simple compass rose. Now, because this paper is already old looking, all I need to do is use crayons. Okay? So the compass rose the children will learn just gives 4 main directions. Oh, and I could use a Sharpie for that. Sharpie. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to turn it this way because kids always are amazed when I make fancy letters. I love teaching that part too. So there's a little fancy north and a less fancy S for south and a fancy E and a west, W for west. All right. Of course, the third graders are going to learn to also put the medial points in for northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. You can add them to this map or not, your choice. The other thing is, many of you parents may have learned this when you were growing up. The way to remember the direction and the way that this go is never eat soggy worms. N-E-S-A-W. Never eat soggy worms. Okay, to make this even more ornamental, I'm just going to add a little bit more decoration to it, to this compass rose. And again, the concept of a compass rose is a key concept to map skills. So I might just color this in right now. Here again, you can just use any color, make it colorful as you want. Okay, so we have our compass rose, so we know the direction. Now, let me ask you second graders what we can put on this cave. Oh, and you're saying that an antique map like this needs to have water. So, like what kind of water? Oh, rivers, a lake, a pond, a creek. Oh yes, water. So I'm going to take some blue and I think I'll make a winding, oh, I like this blue, a winding river. And I want to make it a little interesting, so I'm going to make it turn back on itself. Oh, seems like you could get lost following this river. I want to make it more realistic. Make it look like more realistic by making it like a bubble river. Oh, I like how it turns back on itself. Like that. Okay? At this point, we can color it all in. Or you might want to put some interesting things like, let's see, this looks like it could be quite dangerous. It might even have a crocodile over here. Not sure I can make a crocodile upside down, but we'll try this. Oh yes. They'll get it. And maybe his tail is over here on the other side of the bank. He's quite stretched out here. Okay? Add a crocodile. Kids always like to remind me we need to have dangerous things in here. We need to fill this up with some trees and paths and, of course, a treasure box. So let's put some of those things on it. Where should we put that treasure box? Well, let's put it someplace over here. All right, treasure box with a dome lid. Why not? Now, kids will always tell me, oh, we got to put some pirates on here or some skulls. So I would always brainstorm with the kids what they wanted to use on their map. Do they have to use every single thing? No, of course not. They get to choose which items they want to use. There is our treasure box. This one is closed. Okay? The kids also told me that we needed to have an X. X marks the spot for something. So I think I'm going to wait on that just a minute because I think we need some more interesting mountains. Don't you think so, Mozzie? So I'm going to put some mountains up in here. Hills. Need to have some higher mountains. This one is going to be having snow on the top of it. So we'll put a little snow top mountain here. Okay, let me show you that I also share with the kids pictures of antique maps. This helps give them a visualization too. So here would be a map. This one's already done for us. It has a ship in it. It has trees. It has a pirate's flag. And there is the compass rose. Here are a couple others that I found. This one is like rolled like a scroll, and you certainly can do that. It's a little tricky. You might have to use a paper clip to hold those rolls in place, but that can be done too. I like this one where you actually take a black and make it look like this map was a little bit burned. So that would be fun to do too. So I'm going to add some more things to this and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so we're back with our treasure map. And this map was actually made by what the children had suggested to me to add to it. So you will see mountains, both high mountains covered with snow, and hills, all kinds of trees, skulls, a couple of treasure boxes, rocks that a treasure could be hidden in, an island. I think that is called Skull Island. Not sure I want to go there. Somebody reminded me we needed to have more water, so we added a pond. We added some snakes in the Snake River. We made labels for things, including Dead Man Cave. And then, one of the most important things is the path. I think we forgot to put an X. Oh, here it is up here, because X marks the spot where there might be a treasure. However, there is a little sign there that says, fooled again. Wait a minute, let me make that look more like a sign. So, the fooled again is going to be a sign on this map. So it looks like many people have visited this place following this map. The X was not good. The Dead Man's Cave is not a good thing. But I do see that there is one treasure box that hasn't been opened. Now, if I had a little bit of gold glitter, I would put it right on here with a little pile of liquid glue and let it dry, or that gold glitter glue would be perfect. Do not have that at the moment, but I do have some pretty good treasures here. So I think I'm just going to put over here by this treasure box. Now again, I'm using hot glue, but the kids could use just liquid glue because they would have a couple of days to dry. So, wow, does look like a big treasure there. Sort of piled up with gold. Oh, yeah, some silver too. This is quite the treasure. Surprised nobody found all of that. Okay, so as a final thing to this, since we made binoculars that go with this treasure right here, I thought it would be one more thing, and this is sort of an optional thing. I sort of like the look of this project having a view through these binoculars. So when you look through a pair of binoculars, you actually do see something that looks like this 8. So we can do that on our map. You can make a simple frame to make the binocular lenses. And if you had a piece of black paper, you could just cut it out and put it over your map like this. It does look really nice. It's a nice way to complete it, but it also is an option if you wanted to do it. So if you did this with a class, I used to hang this up with a sign that said this was our art adventure with a map, binoculars, and a place to visit. So, also a good lesson for storytelling. So I hope you have enjoyed this lesson with me. I know your kids will love it too. So enjoy learning through art. Thank you.